Last time on Shadow Piece, the battle between Sakazuki and the most heinous criminal of the world, Monkey D. Dragon, continued. To be completely honest, it wasn't much of a battle anymore. Dragon had shown that he had not only more speed, but also that his power could completely overwhelm the magma forces of Akainu. Paired together with harsh words, blasts of divine rainwater pierced 7 holes into the body of the Fleet Admiral of the Marines. This was critical. This was life-threatening. In fact, if he couldn't quickly fill them up with magma replacements, it could be over for him. However, after all the water poured over the red dog, he got weakened too much to do that right now. Dragon continued to walk away, and behind his back, one more water bubble started to form. This one big enough to destroy the entire upper body of Akainu. The bringer of renewal had cast his judgment, and the hydro cannon got blasted towards the Fleet Admiral. The battlefield was a ravaged wasteland, torn and scorched by the incredible forces unleashed in its place. The stench of seared earth and metal permeated the air, mixing with the tang of blood and the crackling heat still coming off of Akainu. The once proud Fleet Admiral Sakazuki was barely standing, his form riddled with wounds that bled profusely. A testament to the divine rage Dragon had summoned, the droplets had torn right through his body, scalding flesh with the pure, unyielding energy of the heavens. Akainu's chest heaved, magma flickering and bubbling along the open gashes. He couldn't recover in this moment, and yet his eyes remained sharp and showed a smoldering wrath. Dragon turned his back, confident that this final hydro cannon would end it all. The churning pillar of water shot towards the weakened Akainu with deadly precision, twisting and crackling with energy, each droplet carrying enough force to shatter buildings with ease. The Supreme Commander's footsteps were silent on the charred earth, his face a mask of resolute calm. Bringing up a thin layer of magma to defend against the attack was all Sakazuki could do, and so he accepted his fate, but cursing Dragon for what was happening. Looking death into the eyes is sure to scare anyone, but not Akainu. If he had to overcome even the goddess of death to rid the world of evil, well, he would do just that. In the instant the torrent was about to hit, it seemed to get pushed away suddenly, changing its direction towards the open sea. The eastern side of the Kamabaka Queendom had been the private battlefield of Dragon and Sakazuki for a while, but now a reinforcement appeared. The surrounding area quaked as Isho, better known as Fujitora, planted himself between Dragon and his bleeding superior. He had regained his youth, much to the surprise of the other two present. Yet despite the changed appearance, his face was grim. The deep furrow of concentration etched into his brow as he extended his sword forwards, the force of gravity coiling around him like a tempest. This wasn't the first noted case of someone getting younger in the world, but the additional increase of strength was a new case. Be it because of a teenager's hormones, but Isho looked fiercer and more motivated than ever. However, the sheer intensity of it all was also difficult to control for him. "Not so fast," Fujitora growled, befitting of his purple tiger title. His voice was deep, rich with newfound vigor. "You're not done with us just yet, Dragon." Dragon paused, his calm expression fading slightly as he regarded Fujitora's stance. The air around the Admiral was warped, unlike anything he had ever seen before, bending and twisting under the immense gravitational pressure, the very ground rippling beneath his feet. If Dragon didn't know better, he would have guessed that this was the might of one of the 4 gods, but in fact he knew of all the fake devil fruit names, except the Earth God. Could it be that the press fruit was actually that last missing god, Yonka, the Reshaper of space? If that was the case, everything changed. A face-off against another god could prove to be way more dangerous than expected. Fujitora's gaze was unwavering. While he didn't like Akainu's methods, he wouldn't throw away his life to potentially become the next Fleet Admiral. With his vision recovered in one of his eyes, this was also the first time he saw his superior, and also the person they called the world's worst criminal. Neither side looked like a hero that would help the world. Both had the appearance of people who sacrifice many to succeed with their own goal. Using his gravity powers, he stopped the bleeding of the Fleet Admiral for now, but he always kept his focus on Dragon primarily. He tracked his movements with perfect precision, sensing every subtle shift in the Supreme Commander's posture, and so he could instantly change the gravitational force of the rain bullets the last monkey produced, cutting him on his cheek and his shoulders. Dragon narrowed his eyes, and a low rumble rolled across the skies. The wind whipped furiously, fiercely, and clouds darkened above again, answering the call of his fury. Without a word, he thrust his hand forward, and another element appeared. Balls of lightning crackled down on Fujitora, sharp and deadly. In response, Isho lifted his sword, and gravity surged. Each bolt of lightning bent and refracted as it neared him, drawn into a spiraling maelstrom of destruction around his blade before dispersing harmlessly. But Dragon was relentless. He couldn't let Fujitora get used to this newly awakened power. With a flick of his wrist, torrents of rain slashed down, each drop heavier than the last, and the winds roared to life, spinning around Fujitora in a fierce gale. The Admiral staggered slightly, wounds appearing all over his body from the attack. His gravity control could only decrease the damage by a bit. It was a struggle to control the fierce law of gravity. His new power, now surging through him, was immense. It could destroy him if he wasn't careful enough. But he held his ground, stepping forward one grueling inch at a time, pushing against the force of the storm. Behind him, Akainu's molten form started to bubble and flare up again. With a guttural growl, he began to stand straight again, magma coursing through his veins, each movement slow but deliberate, but he had not much energy left. His breathing was unstable and his limbs trembled from the toll of his injuries. The blood instantly evaporated as it dripped out of the holes on his body. His eyes regained the fiery power and locked onto Dragon, with an absolute determination to get rid of the revolutionary army leader today. Dragon! Akainu spat, his voice laced with contempt. Flecks of magma sputtered from his mouth. He also took a step forward, leaving a trail of molten footprints as he raised his fist, blazing with hellish heat. You think you can end this? Defeating me and Isho won't be the victory you think it is. Dragon split his focus between the two admirals, his expression cool but wary. The purple tiger had slowed him down, but the red dog's fury was impossible to ignore either. Akainu drew in a deep, wheezing breath, and with a roar his entire body reignited, with the holes Dragon made being the only exception. Flames of magma crackling across his skin. He hurled a massive fist towards Dragon, a burning geyser of molten rock erupting from his arm and barreling towards the current-drained gods. No hesitation as he summoned a massive barrier of water that twisted and coiled, clashing with the magma. Steam exploded from the collision, filling the area with a dense, blinding fog. So Dragon was momentarily obscured, but Fujitora pressed forward nonetheless. His senses were the best of the three present. Using the cover to close the gap was easy enough for him. The fog was cut with a violent sweep of his supreme-grade blade, gravity compacting the steam into jagged shards of ice. He unleashed them, each shard propelled by a crushing weight, forcing Dragon to go on the defensive, maneuvering and sidestepping each deadly projectile. He didn't just dodge the attacks though, he retaliated with a blast of wind that cut like a supreme-grade blade, flashing through the air and catching Fujitora across the shoulder. The blow made the Admiral falter, a line of blood appearing on his arm, but he barely flinched. Instead, he clenched his teeth and dashed forward, his sword humming with gravity's lethal embrace. The two clashed in a whirlwind of elemental fury, Dragon's storm and Fujitora's gravity, each attack potent enough to obliterate mountains. Isho swung his blade down and an enormous weight crashed towards Dragon, warping the very earth beneath them. But Dragon just covered his arm in almond haki and water, unleashing a vortex of water that surged up to meet Fujitora, knocking him back and leaving him drenched. Akainu was still struggling, barely remaining conscious, but his rage kept him going. His body pulsed with raw heat, destroying wherever he stepped as he sluggishly rushed towards Dragon, molten fists swinging with deadly intent. However, it was too slow. Dragon dodged, spinning around and thrusting his palm towards Akainu, sending a wave of cutting wind that sliced through the Admiral's side, giving him the waste many women dream of. This didn't make the man who swore to overcome death stop, however. His burning fist slammed down upon Dragon, who expected a moment of suffering from the mad dog. His blood spurting out from every opening of his body strained, seething magma leaving arcs of flame across the battlefield. Like a mad green monster, he slammed a god to the ground, creating a massive crater and lowering the battlefield for all of them. It only took an instant for Dragon to get back up again and distance himself, leading more and more himself as well. For a brief moment, the Supreme Commander found himself between the two admirals, their combined might pressing in from all sides. The storm above raged in response to his increasing adrenaline, pitch-black clouds speeding across the sky, as bolts of lightning lashed down, each strike more powerful than the last. If his power continued to increase, an island, no, maybe even a country could get destroyed by him. His face, however, remained undeterred. It was a mask of fierce determination. And then he started talking. Is this the best the Marines have to offer? No wonder you are serving the Celestial Dragons. So let's just make you kneel in front of another dragon. He taunted them, his voice carrying above the storm. And this is the end of today's episode of Shadow Piece. It's a bit longer. I hope you enjoyed it, because this battle is not yet over. Akainu may be on his last leg, but Isho Fujitora is still going strong. And also, he has a few tricks up his sleeve. But is he really the Earth God? Is this for real? Well, Dragon is only assuming things, but what do you think? Could this be the reveal of another god? I guess it's enough for me for today. All that's to be said for now is stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay cultured. Pyro out. Bye!